My name is Justin Bates, and I am a PhD student in history at Liberty University. The title of my research is The Forgotten Forerunner, the Nickelodeon Era's Impact on 20th Century America. The primary research question is this: what impact did the Nickelodeon theaters of the early 20th century have on the young motion picture industry and its movie-going audience? Other important questions related to the Nickelodeon era include: why were these theaters able to have a significant impact? How did the Nickelodeon trend begin? If Nickelodeons did have an impact, why was the popularity so brief? They were only around for about 10 years, from 1905 to 1915 or so. Why is this research question significant, you may ask? Well, in the modern era, where a few major theater chains control a considerable share of the exhibition market, it's easy to forget that the earliest motion picture theaters were small, independently owned, and could be found just about anywhere. Among other reasons, this topic is significant because it reiterates the impact that entrepreneurship has had on the economy, the film industry, and on creating a more inclusive form of entertainment. The ingenuity, investment, and ability of early theatrical entrepreneurs to identify market signals regarding the potential and popularity of inexpensive, available, and entertaining theaters quite literally helped create the demand for higher quality productions, better equipment, and the modern theaters that we enjoy today. While the so-called golden age of cinema, often designated as the 1920s to the 1960s, is usually the earliest cinema that most remember, if the Nickelodeon era had not helped create demand, advance technology, and cultivate more quality productions, the golden age would likely have taken longer to get started or never come at all. This era and those entrepreneurs need to be remembered. In terms of primary sources and research methodology, I decided to use more qualitative than quantitative evidence and analysis in the research. The reason is that most, if not all, of the economic records for early Nickelodeons, which were almost exclusively small business endeavors, are no longer available. I was able to locate some statistical information related to the growth of Nickelodeons across the U.S. and estimated attendance at those Nickelodeons, but otherwise, qualitative descriptions of their impact on the motion picture industry and American culture were the primary forms of evidence. And while I certainly used scholarly articles from databases such as JSTOR and the Internet Archive, some of the most useful information came from primary sources, including a popular trade publication called the Nickelodeon, newspapers such as the Pittsburgh Weekly Gazette, as well as a copy of remarks made at the unveiling of the Harris Memorial Tablet shortly after Harris's death. In terms of a summation of my findings, theaters during the Nickelodeon era were an incredibly influential foundation for the motion picture industry. They helped to popularize moviegoing by enlarging the demographic of moviegoers, helped increase the scale and quality of the film production and exhibition industries, inspired innovative uses of motion pictures in other fields, such as religion and education, and directly led to a larger, more feature-filled series of movie palaces that eventually took their place. Now, let's talk about John Harris and the start of the Nickelodeon era. John Harris was a politician and entrepreneur. He had a storied career in part due to his helping found the Nickelodeon era of the early 20th century. Harris and his brother-in-law, Harry Davis, are credited as the ones to open the first theater dedicated to showing motion pictures when they started their original Nickelodeon Theater on Smithfield Street in Pittsburgh in 1905. By the time of his death, Harris's company operated 60 theaters throughout 7 states, which gives you an idea of the rapid growth. Nickelodeons also popularized and diversified moviegoing. Their popularity may have started in Pittsburgh with John Harris's theater, but they impacted audiences and organizations throughout the nation. In 1911, there were about 10,000 motion picture theaters in the United States, exhibiting to a daily audience of more than 4 million patrons. That equates to about 5 times as many people as were attending traditional theaters at that time. In some cities, in fact, such as New York, 75% of the school-age children attended at least once a week one of these Nickelodeons. These statistics clearly support the widespread prevalence and popularity of motion pictures during the Nickelodeon era. It is also significant to note that Nickelodeons were one of the first places to blend Americans of varied economic classes through shared theatrical experiences on a grand scale. The Nickelodeon era helped exhibitors realize the need to improve public perception of moviegoing from cheap or even lower class entertainment that naturally resulted from the inexpensive Nickelodeons of days gone by. Thus, the operators at the end of the Nickelodeon era made great strides to improve their reputation through things such as safer theater designs, more elaborate decor, by hosting public and charitable activities, and by raising prices. Despite being a product of the Nickelodeon era regulation advancements and lessons learned, the next generation of movie palaces barely resembled their predecessors. These new theaters were often large, ornate, possessed higher quality equipment, screened higher quality feature-length films, and as you might expect, charged higher prices. In conclusion, President Stevens' comments at the 1929 unveiling of Harris's memorial tablet aptly summarize his impact and the Nickelodeon's impact on the motion picture industry. He said that while it started with a rented storeroom with 96 folding chairs and one of those early crude projectors, it helped kick off a booming industry. In its own way, the Nickelodeon era and that Harris founded not only had a significant economic impact on the motion picture industry, but also made its mark on the society in which it thrived. Thank you.